Hotep, peace, beloved. It's all about you. We're doing this for you and your consciousness, bringing the truth and revelation to you, things that you might not have time or because of all of your duties and obligations in life. We're going to get deep. So this is Quantum Thoughts with me, David Dimitri, and sister
Tanea Williams.
We're just bringing it to you from down to earth. She said Tanea Williams, so she's not trying to come with this extra Osarian or indigenous name. She's being real about who she is. And the reason why I have someone like this with me, because I don't want you to think this is just about people that are trying to make a namesake for themselves in the conscious community or in the liberation community or as a revolutionary of some sort. But we need to know that so-called common everyday people are actually beyond common everyday people, that they have astral consciousness, transcendent consciousness that has very important contribution to bring to humankind spiritually. So we got a subject we found ourselves talking about, and maybe she want to tell you a little bit about the subject before we go in on it.
Well, we were talking about astral projection, and I know that a few years ago I was doing it all the time, and I was scared to death.
So you weren't purposely doing it? You weren't purposely astral projecting? It was just like naturally happening, spontaneously?
Well, when I was a child, it would be on accident, and I would find myself getting stuck to like the ceiling or something, and didn't know what was going on, and was terrified. But as I got older and I learned what it was, then I started to go places.
All right, interesting. And so that means your consciousness, not your physical, was going places.
Yes.
And you were seeing things.
Yes.
Were you just going places signifying space, but were you going to different times also?
Yes, a few times.
All right, if you got an instance, tell us. We want to know, because that's something that people that are common everyday people need to know. Astral projecting, and you look up the definition, I can give you the definition, but I don't want to monopolize the conversation, because astral projection is the ability to come out of your physical body, your consciousness, into the astral plane and be able to see things not only in the physical world where you're at, but other places and probably even other times. So in other words, being psychic, being able to experience things psychokinetically that are beyond the space and time where your physical body is. So on that note,
your life is going to waste on the social media platforms where you don't own stock. Join Prime Up International.
There was one instance that really scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
It started off in a dream.
Yeah.
But in the dream, I was fighting someone, and I got so scared that I actually had astral projected myself, I guess, out of.
Oh, wow.
Trying to get out of the dream, I guess.
Oh, dang. Did you know you were dreaming while you were dreaming? Or it was just an experience that you were going through?
It was just an experience, because I was so scared at the time.
Right.
I just wanted to get out of where I was.
Right.
I found myself getting out of the dream and actually witnessing myself astral projecting.
Okay.
Really fastly.
Yeah, but wow, what happened? What was there? Tell me more about this. Explain in detail.
I remember turning myself into an orb.
An energy orb? Is it? What color were you?
Looked white.
Is it? Okay.
I don't really know. I don't really know what it was. I just know that I was it, and it was going fast, and it was small. So
you were being attacked by someone somewhere. You were astral projecting. You were in your sleep. In your sleep, dreaming, astral projecting, everyone. And so someone was attacking you in the dream. You were in your physical form as you are now. And when they came to attack you, are you saying that you transformed into an energy orb and then traveled, like
just
speed
to
of light?
Get away from whatever it
was.
Is it?
Okay, what happened?
Found myself actually landing somewhere where, it sounds crazy, but it appeared to be I was looking at my future self.
Okay. So you astral projected to escape whatever violence or whatever the harm was. You ended up somewhere else, seeing another version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a future version of yourself? Was it a past version of yourself? Or was time irrelevant?
And you know what?
It was time neutral?
That's questionable because I can't really pinpoint whether it was the past or whether it was the present. But I knew it wasn't where it was past or future. I can't really say it was. All I know is that it wasn't who I was at the time.
Right.
So.
Dang, that's deep. And what was happening to you when you were the energy orb and you came observing who you were then? What was going on with you? Because you escaped one situation where you was about to be attacked. Turned into an energy orb, went the speed of light or beyond it, new dimension, popped out into a reality where you were in that same physical form but in a different circumstance. What were you doing there?
SoulTiesKarmicRecall.com for all you need.
It looked like I was in an apartment. I was in my own apartment. I was chilling on a couch.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, I had my arms on the couch or whatever.
Right.
Little haircut or something going on. And I turned around because I guess I noticed something was there.
Mm-hmm.
And me on the couch had turned around real quick, like to see what it was that was in there.
Right.
And I had came back.
And so what happened at that point? So you actually turned around and saw you as an energy orb. The you on the couch, because it ended at that point or something? Or did you take off again?
I took off once I saw that.
Where'd you go after that?
I came back to where I was.
Where you were going to get attacked?
Back to my bed. Back to where I was laying down.
Did you wake up out this dream?
Yes, I did.
Okay. There's a reason why I'm asking these questions. She just walked you through what astral projecting is. That is astral projection, but astral projecting can also be while you're kind of daydreaming, as they call it, lucid dreaming. This is absolutely real. Mm-hmm. Your spiritual body goes into the astral plane. That's the reason why they call it astral projecting. That's a new, more term for it. That's a new wave term for it. It's probably like barely been called that for the last 20 years or something. But this is actually a great idea to call it that because lucid dreaming is another thing they would call it. And, different indigenous people have their own different dialects and languages that they call it. But this isn't the main point of our conversation, everyone. This is a doorway conversation to bring into our conversation, our main conversation. We're going to finish this section of the conversation, but then we're going to take you to the deep, real depths. Because this is quantum consciousness, which means it encompasses the physical and metaphysical. And so, with this astral projecting that she's saying, I wanted you to look at those different steps of how astral projecting, or what you might call dreaming. This is a way to see how our spiritual selves operate on a spiritual plane. It also brings value to the importance of sleep. You need to rest and you need to sleep. Because people see themselves so much as a physical body and achieving things in the physical world, but they forget to achieve things in the spiritual consciousness. And then there's not an accident that you have these visions and dreams. That's important. It's part of your life. But we want to acknowledge that in ancient civilizations and not so ancient civilizations, people like Nikola Tesla, in modern civilization, and Sophia Stewart, who wrote the manuscripts for Terminator and Matrix series, which elevated the human consciousness. They both did, and a lot of them stuff from those movies are coming true, which means basically she prophesied about how the future would be. Nikola Tesla would see in his dreams and get up, and Einstein both, and be able to figure out their equations to contribute what their science has contributed, like the lighting here and the mechanics of the camera, is all because of Nikola Tesla. And then so what we want to do is see the importance that you might start taking more time out in documenting your visions and dreams like she did, and be able to see the importance of them in your physical world and physical life. What do you think about that? And what do you think about women doing it? Because there's a ancient sect called the Sibyls. They're an African sect, and they had spread out throughout Europe and Asia and even the Americas. They were called the Sibyls, but because of masculine, patrilineal, and misogynistic warfare and hate toward women, they took down the female spiritual cults globally. But one of the main ones who went around the whole world teaching all kind of women and helping, they used the ability to astral project like this queen did to bring prophecies, to help invent things, to solve problems in societies. What do you think about that? And what do you think about the young sisters like you that's a single parent using this ability to solve their problems and to see things about life?
Your life is going to waste on the social media platforms where you don't own stock. Join Prime Up International.
Well, honestly, when growing up in a different type of household, I didn't really understand how to use that. I didn't even know what it was. Like I said, I find myself stuck to the ceiling, or and not knowing what was going on.
Right.
And just scared to death.
Right.
Once I did learn what it was, I still didn't understand or know too much about how to use it.
And why?
And
you
why?
were afraid
exactly.
of it. It's a taboo thing. Like me and her, when we do discussions, we talk about taboo things. It's taboo. You got to be a nutcase or crazy. Like in our other talks. This societies that are in denial have this issue with labeling things as being cuckoo or crazy. But then the leaders of these society that has spread propaganda that those things are cuckoo and crazy use those things for their benefit. It's not an accident that the mainstream education system and media call people that do these things and have this ability cuckoo or crazy, but meanwhile the FBI and CIA look for people with the ability to astral project and see the future and hire them and use them to stop terrorists and to see what their opposition KGB or whatever their opposition intelligence, how to figure out what they're doing. Now, isn't that unique or pretty hypocritical for them in this society to do that? But anyway, now let's use this. We wanted, like we said, we're using this just to walk you into this deep conversation. The deep conversation is this. We realize, and I feel that just through us discussing, me, her, and others, we discussed what got the human race to such a level that where there's so much potential for harm and suffering and evil, and there's some genocides, you got serial killers, you got megalomaniacs, you got rapists, you got pedophilia, you got addictions of all kinds, and you got these wicked spirits of deception, you got narcissism, you got all kind of evil in the process today, you got poverty, mass poverty, you got all kind of sicknesses and viruses. We are living in what the Hindus would call Kali Yuga, where the Mahatma, other cultures call it the Mahatma, African cultures and whatnot, the time of evil. Europe has a name for it, and Europeans have a different name for it. It's different cultures that have the same name for the same, and we're living in this time in Mahatma. And so we wonder, how did it get there? And coming from an African descent culture, and me being mixed, and then we saying as us being American and not being directly from Africa. So we look back, and as African Americans, we look back to Kemet. Ancient Egypt is one of our centers. Even all other Africans in Africa look at ancient Egypt, and even Europeans look at ancient Egypt as like a center civilization. Ancient Egypt and ancient Samaria as information on telling us what happened to our world. How did we get here? So, and on that note, we walked ourselves into the conversation questioning because the original people were the black people on the planet. It's just a scientific fact in that, the human race, regardless of what culture or genetic stream or language or landmass they come from, within the last few thousand years. The human race is so old on this planet, it's actually hundreds of thousands of years old. The myth that it's only 4,000 years old was just some type of effort to keep people's minds kind of like compartmentalized so they wouldn't look any further back. Because if you find out the truth, then maybe you want to stand up against the lies, and you know, people that want to oppress have to lie. So irregardless of who the oppressor are. So what we got to do is look back far. So we look all the way back to ancient Kemet in Egypt. We look back to those times of the ancient cults of the ancient queen and goddess, the serpent cults and cultures, way back then, where it was all kind of different people all over the world, and these ancient pyramids that they put up all over the world, these ancient archaeological evidence, nothing that could be argued because it's scientific common sense fact right there. So in looking back there, we said to each other, well, why, if the ancient people saw that these other people were vile and had all kind of different tendencies with themselves that would bring harm into the world, that no matter what they did to try to fix these people, they were not fixable, that they had to do trick knowledge, or they had tendencies toward violence and toward deception that could cause the balance of the world to go off? Why would those people that had the power not annihilate those people to solve the problem, to keep balance? And she asked a question, and she said, could it be? Because I asked her, and the other people thought to themselves, She asked the question, which was the smartest question. Now ask that question if you remember.
Your life is going to waste on the social media platforms where you don't own stock. Join Prime Up International. Soul Ties, KarmicRecall.com for all you need.
Which specific one?
The question where you said, is it that they knew something we didn't?
Yes. I figure, just thinking about a lot of the things that happened, as far as a lot of the things that we find fascinating in this time, back then, like the pyramids, for instance, the Mayan calendar, things like that we find all over the world, where we're like, how, you know?
Right.
So if there was that kind of intelligence going on back then, you know, I don't think that it was an accident, honestly. I honestly think that they probably knew something that we don't know as of right now.
We still don't know. Now, the question can be, is the information being hid? Just like they have archaeologists that actually found bones of giants. And those archaeologists wanted to tell the truth. Look, we found this. But not only were some of them murdered, but some of their careers were completely destroyed. They can never get a job again. Some archaeologists found things in Europe that people don't, that show that science was there so long ago. In Africa, in Egypt, in Nubia, that show that science was there and that human race was there for hundreds of thousands of years, if not a million or more. And so those type of things people want to suppress. So with the ancient Kemets, in ancient Kemet, where the pyramids and Giza and all that, ancient Egypt, those gods started civilization on earth, the gods and goddesses, female and male, created a new form of being for this specific planet, planetary form, where karmic and reincarnation is like the foundation of the life for the different beings, and the sentient beings. And so like, what ended up happening is they gave all the knowledge and science for us, and then they went back into their dimension. Now that was one idea we thought of. But then we also thought of, because it's so, the whole issue is how did things get so bad? And what do we do to get it not to be this bad anymore? Or how do we get whatever the force that's feeding all the negativity into the world, how do we get it out of here? We need to figure out how it got here, right? So we're going back in time. Now, they were benevolent. They decided not to just leave the humans that they created in despair. They gave them civilization so they can live eternally, days out in this happy, beautiful paradise type Edenic planet. It was a great experiment, and they said, now we leave it to you. You have your own willpower. Now, the idea from the teachings of the Sumerian is that they rebelled. That's that civilization. That was not the center. The center was Kemet. They willfully said, we leave it to you now. But we will communicate with you. But we will help you. But we're going to go now. But what ended up happening is a force somehow, other interdimensional travelers that was malevolent, that were the enemies of the originals who started our planet. Those original, obviously there were some type of black gods and goddesses, beings that came and created a civilization that would spiral into many different civilizations around the planet for all different types and breeds of sentient human beings. So what ended up happening clearly was that everything was going well, but some force of dynamic imbalance potential came into the earth, who clearly were interdimensional travelers. They had to be. They couldn't have came on no physical spaceship. And they could have did that, but I can prove that that's not the way they got here. But what ended up happening is they get here, they wage war. War doesn't have to be physical. It could be spiritual. In other words, our vibration is the warfare. Because y'all so positive, we're so negative. Our negative energy is stronger than your negative. So their presence alone was warfare. Whoever these sentient, whatever these type of astral beings were, they were malevolent and destructive and regressive to the progressiveness of the earth and how the sun originally vibrated, causing despair and imbalance. There had to be a physical warfare. How do we know it got physical and that they were physical? Is because the Vedas, the teachings of ancient India, which actually was an outpost civilization started by the ancient Egyptians. All these civilizations started by ancient Egyptians. Not a reason why them little Indian people are so dark skinned. It's not an accident. You know what I mean? Then people were like Africans that had traveled there. And so like, and started off a new level of their original civilization. That's all it is. And so what ended up happening is they wrote in the Vedas of these spaceship wars. They call them Vimanas. How they, and that it had been going on all around the world, not just in Egypt. I mean, not just in India. So the ancient Kemetic or Egyptian teaches the same thing that happened. So apparently some beings came to Earth to shut down what had been going on and to take over for themselves. But I think what ended up happening is our gods and goddesses that started us, started the experiment, came to help, but was using the stargates so that the ability to disappear and reappear through interdimensional travels, those beings that came here in the spaceships, or however they probably came interdimensionally too, the Megatron and his Transformers came to fight ours, who were biochemical beings, but they're non-biochemical conscious beings. In other words, they're physical, like trapped in these physical robotic type forms. Well, they waged war. And it's either two things happen.
Your life is going to waste on the social media platforms where you don't own stock. Join Prime Up International. Soul Ties KarmicRecall.com for all you need.
Either our gods and goddesses shut this down to become their prison, and that's why they're trying to get on spaceships to travel out. They can't escape this. Like, I can't escape this. I'm stuck here. Or so that our gods and goddesses couldn't come save us, they themselves, the robotic form, shut down our gods and goddesses' ability to come here and save us. But no stargates are able to be open to actually come here and save the planet and all the common everyday people. You know, that's just how bad it gets. But then we go into her question. Could it be that they know something? That's why the goddess consciousness is far greater than this logistical consciousness you're hearing from me. It sounds good what I'm saying, right? I can't even prove it. But you see, she asked a question which trumps everything, not only that I said, but that we could sit and debate. Because what she said is, she asked, is it something that we don't know? And that's why the goddess consciousness is so relevant here. I'm not saying that everything I said isn't real. It went down similar to what I said, actually. The principles of reality would dictate that it had to happen that way. But what I'm saying is she's saying that it could have been something else. And that something else that it could have been many other things, but it could have been that the great goddess, who's like the female Brahma, how Brahma sit backs and everything, and he dreams and everything just happens. Well, guess what? It's a she too. And maybe she just like, you think that this is the way it should be, and he like, this is the way it should be, and they sitting back dreaming the potentiality. And we got to live it out as little forms of them. So it could be that, and I wanted to rationalize another potential to answer her question, that could it be something that they're not telling us? That something else could also be that the original gods and goddesses that created this, they go around in many different planets and create planets, and then create these civilizations, create different breeds of peoples, which are simply astral conscious souls being put in physical biochemical forms in spatio-temporal zones, space and time, third dimensional, fourth dimensional, which is the measurement of travel known as time, these life. And so like the gods and goddesses created this as a soul development test. And so karma and reincarnation is, in the study of geology, that kind of like proves that true.
SoulTiesKarmicRecall.com for all you need.
Because this is where it goes back to what I was saying, that the Gregorian calendar and these different means of measuring with this illusion of what's called a year, that's a mistake. When you look at the Mayan calendar and they say, well, 12,000, 36,000 years, and you look at the Kemetic and they say 36,000 years, you're making a mistake. It's not years. It's not years, because a different society can say a year is this many. It's lifetimes. How many lifetimes? And you will measure a lifetime by how old the average woman gets in that civilization. And why the woman? Because women always live longer, because men go out and put themselves in so much danger, catch diseases, all type of mess, get ate by the alligator. You know what I'm saying? Get high too much on opium in ancient civilization, get high too much in American natives were doing too much, eating too much of the coca plant, because they want to go out and stay up to do the hunting and protecting, or they want to overcome the king to become the king. But women that sit back and just live a peaceful life. So you measure a lifetime. This idea that it was, the Mayan calendar says in 2012 that this would happen because this many years, that goes to show how really seriously, how compartmentalized your minds are. Because I figured out on my own without reading a dang thing, just by being a regular dude, walking around, chilling, having fun, doing normal stuff. I figured out, hold on, that's measured by lifetime. And then I realized those lifetimes are measured by what's the average age of the oldest woman. Because the women live, and so now you guys want to figure out that calendar by who? Because I gave you the knowledge, Mr. Nobody, that none of you want to acknowledge, or you want to act like I got it from somewhere. No, I got it from me. And a lot of the knowledge I'm getting from me. Everything I'm telling you, I get from me. And you know what? That's the problem with this civilization. No one's getting answered because no one gives credit where it's due. And so we're going to look at things, and if you really want to know and answer when and that and then, you need to look at these ancient Kemetic, all this archaeology. You want to time thing out from the temples in South Asia where South India where Roger built, and Cambodia, the ancient books of war, which are really those big temples with all the carved in lessons. Well, those years ain't years. It's lifetimes, it's ages, it's eons, but it's measured in lifetimes. So now I'll go back, and I bet you guys figure out when the time is date when Naiburu was going to return. By finding out what was the age of the eldest woman in not the Mayan, no, the Olmec civilization. Those big Olmec heads that you found in Asia, in Central America, South America, of African people faces. That's because they were the original people that started those civilizations. So they will be the ones that pass down the knowledge to them Mayan people. So, so basically, when I'm getting back to our original conversation, is what got us this far. Denial. When people are bringing that war on you, you got to fight. When people we didn't want to. We seen it coming. Our guys and guys, and so all these different potentials that I put out there, put in perspective. If you want to do a comment, go ahead. You want to do a video, you want to oppose, no problem. We agree to disagree. Now, this isn't, I'm not saying any of this in absolute. We're questioning reality. We're trying to get answers. And we would like the world to return in a peace and potential where all human race can bring benefit to the animals. And all the animals can keep bringing benefit to us. And first thing is human beings need to stop fighting. And so I say that that's the reason why it got so bad is because her question answers it. Because whatever the answer to her question is, which might be many answers, is what gives us, and her question was, could it be that we don't know, but they knew something that we don't know? And maybe we're never supposed to find out.
Your life is going to waste on the social media platforms where you don't own stock. Join Prime Up International.
Until at the end of it all.
Well, you know what? I have one last question before we go off. Can I ask? Can I ask my kaboom question?
Do it. Bang.
You know, when I think about some of the things that I believe, as far as what I said, how most of the time we're predestined before we even come down to planet Earth. And a lot of people, when they come down to planet Earth, of course, have a purpose, a mission, or whatever.
Right.
And to decide whether or not if they're going to contribute to better in the world or contribute to worsen in the world. My whole thing is that when you think of God, why not just why you know, because when they talk about how there's so many people coming in and out of Earth and things like that, and
Souls.
a lot of people, a lot of women having problems giving birth and things like that,
right.
because no soul, they
don't want to come here.
They don't want to come here no more because of how bad
it's getting. It is.
Considering the fact that there are so many other Earths. You know, and you know, there's other Earths. You know, why not just let it kaboom if it's really getting this bad? You know, it's a lot of questions going through my mind as to what is the actual mission?
What's the purpose of this staying here?
Exactly.
And I remember the conversation did go there. My contribution to that part of the conversation to answer that question was that why not? And I've been there. And at one point in my life for like over a year, I thought, you know, we need to just have a nuclear war. We need to wipe this out. That's the answer. And eventually, clearly, it's going to get there. But I think the reason why the karma is being allowed and everything is for development of souls. Souls need to be put to the test. But that's, you know, that's not scientific. That's spiritually scientific. But it's not physics science. You know, that's metaphysics science. But the soul being put to the test is, and being, those tests build character and see who you will become. But I think the best judgment out of all the civilizations, a lot of people in their religion or their cultures don't want to give credit, is ancient Kemet. Because it shows that after a soul passes away, its heart is put in weighed. But when you look at the Western civilizations, even Hinduism, all that, they say the mind is going to get judged. No, your mind is getting judged here on Earth. The whole Earth plane is psychological. So you got to be able to deal with things. Your mind is going through the judgment here. But after you pass out of this, your soul, your heart, in other words, your soul gets weighed. Your soul's in your heart. And if it's lighter than a feather, in other words, it has no karmic burden. That's the truest, I would say, metaphysically correct and spiritually correct of what will end when we pass out of the human physical form. And so on that note, it kind of answers your question on the kaboom thing, that it's all a test. So you walk this into the answer of your question, which is, well, is it something that we don't know? And yes, you've answered your own question. That's probably just what we don't know, that this is a big test. That's why so many souls coming here, because you all got to go through this development, you know. And I think ultimately that's what it all comes down to. But all these different stories that are being told are just stories and things that are actually happening according to your soul. Your consciousness is aware of it. It's really happening. And if you don't make this right decision, then it's going to be an outcome. But that's the test. So that gives validity to the, some people would call superstition, that life is a test. It gives validity, and it also answers your question.
Wow.
Exactly. It's crazy how you actually answered your own question. That's deep. It's great getting deep with you, sis. Peace, blessings. Appreciate it. You know, it's nothing but love. Gotta be happy. And remember, we're just real people getting real. It's up to you. Give your comments. Subscribe to the YouTube. Let's be friends. Social media. Check out the website, soultieskarmicrecall.com. And my own social media website, PrimeUpInternational.com. It's PrimeUp, PrimeUpIntl.com. David Dimitri,